Okay, sorry. So the microphone does work. Thank you for coming. I expect there'll be still a few people coming in and out. The previous session finished early, and I think some people were in desperate need of coffee in between them. It becomes a very long week, really, one session after another. We thought it was time, as part of the program here at World Responsible Tourism Day, to come back to the question of certification. We have covered this session, or the idea of certification, in previous years, and each time we look at it in different ways. It's true to say that last year we didn't, and also there's different angles to take on this. We've got a great panel today, and I think we're very privileged to be able to have four very different viewpoints on what certification has done and hasn't done in the past, and what it's able to do. And for far too many years, and I remember the days when I wrote the feasibility study for the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, we kept talking about when certification achieves the economies of scale and the volume that it needs to achieve and so on. And for far too long we talked about when it will do X, Y, and Z. So it was good to be able to kind of come back and look back and say, well, what have we achieved? And to which extent can we say that certification has made a contribution to responsible tourism? And what is the kind of data that we've got to do this, as opposed to nice words? But what's tangible really about it? What are the achievements? So we will start with Rebecca Hawkins from Responsible Hospitality Partnership, providing a broader view on the impact that certification may or may have not had towards the consumer angle. We will then look at the UK, particularly UK case, unless, Andrea, you wanting to look beyond that, and look at what Green Tourism Business Scheme, as in my view, one of the most, if not the most successful certification program operating at the moment. Clearly the one with very high economies of scale in terms of market penetration. What it has to offer and what they say they've got as data, to prove what has been achieved so far. We will then look at certification as part of sustainable supply chain management, linking Travel Life with the work that TUI is doing. And then probably the newest player in the group, and probably the one that is raising interest, in part because of its size, in part because of being new. We'll look at what Tripadvisor has to offer in terms of not necessarily certification, but the contribution they're making with their own label towards the idea of consumer awareness. Okay, Rebecca, over to you. I've shown this slide while Rebecca comes up as a way of reminding you that if you're kind of not busy tomorrow evening and you want to come and join us, we've got capacity for 600 people in this responsible tourism networking event. The Tower Hotel is basically very near Tower Hill, so it's, for most of us, it's relatively easy to get to on our way back into London.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. You've already heard I'm Rebecca Hawkins. I work as a consultant in the industry, delivering behaviour change to help improve sustainability performance within businesses. And the topic for today really was, has certification delivered change? And in a way I could almost stand here and just say yes, without a shadow of a doubt. Certification schemes within the industry have delivered positive change within hospitality and tourism businesses. Without a doubt, they have delivered cost savings in energy, waste and water. To a certain extent, they've engaged communities. More questionable, perhaps they've engaged destinations. To refute that evidence would be very difficult, and certainly when selling to businesses, certification schemes and their potential to deliver cost combined with environmental savings is a very, very positive fact. And I think that alone is a tribute to the people who run those schemes, many of whom took a risk, set up schemes that were focusing on things they were passionate about. But, and it's a big but, I think one of the real problems with certification is it's not just about changing internal business practices. Certification is not just a business-to-business tool. One of the main reasons that businesses certify is because they are trying to say something to their customers and to their consumers. They're trying to differentiate themselves in a crowded marketplace. We know consumers don't buy on green credentials alone, but what we do know is that when well done, green issues, ethics, whatever else we like to call them, can support and enhance and build trust in brands. And that's why a lot of businesses want to go down this route. It's about creating trust. That's why we see organisations like the Waitrose Co-op, M&S, going down this route. It's about building trust with their customers. And I think the question that we have to ask when we are looking at tourism certification and sustainable tourism certification in particular is whether or not it passes the acid test of consumer expectations. And that acid test for consumers isn't about whether a business is managing its energy effectively or its water effectively. It's about whether, by seeing that logo, they can genuinely believe that the business they're staying with is saying something that is credible, that can be trusted, that is comprehensible, and somehow improves the experience for the customer. Now, on the board is research which has nothing to do with us. It comes from a publication called Green Expectations from Consumer, I think it's Consumer Focus. It's a few years old now. But when it comes to green labelling in general, we haven't been very good at that whole trust thing. We have actually not been very good, even on simple products like washing powder, let alone a complex product like a tourism service, in actually building trust in our green brands. Customers, as a general rule, either don't understand the claims that we make, they find it difficult to differentiate between one product claim and another product claim, or they think that companies are just pretending to be green to get more and more customers. And if we can't manage it with something simple, like a washing powder, we have a real issue when it comes to tourism. Even within the tourism industry, we can't agree what sustainable tourism is. We don't all call it sustainable tourism. Some of us call it responsible tourism. Some of us call it ethical tourism. There's hundreds of definitions. So we can't even agree ourselves about what is sustainable. And then we expect to put a brand on something which we communicate to our customers as sustainable, yet you, I, anybody else will have a different definition. Alas, the two images on the board are not scientifically proven. One of the things that we do when we work with businesses and with consumers is we ask them to write down, in a word, what sustainable means to them. And it's very interesting because what you get in the tree is what sustainable means to tourism businesses. It's about carbon footprints, holidays, colleagues, projects, forever, reduction, cost saving. If you look at the consumer front, when you ask consumers about sustainable tourism, you get very different words: authentic, unspoiled, quiet, beautiful, calm, relaxing. And one of the issues, I think, with certification is that it's really, really great at the business stuff. But the stuff on the right-hand side, that's what the customer expects if they're buying a green experience. And there is, of course, another issue with sustainability, and we're a relatively informed audience. There's 3 logos on the board. The one on the left, does anybody recognise it? Is it a credible certification scheme? No hands. Anybody care to put their hand in? Give me a vote. Is it a credible certification scheme? Stick your hand in the air. No, it's a membership scheme. You'll see it on doors of businesses. It's a very good membership scheme, but it's a membership scheme. What about the one in the middle? Is that a credible certification scheme? Hands in the air? Oh, come on, play the game. No? One hand shot up a little bit. Yeah, you're right. That's the Green Dragon. It's the Welsh Sustainable Certification Scheme. I believe it's now been, I think Andrea, it might be one of your clients now, I think it might have been surpassed by one of Andrea's businesses. What about the one on the right? Is that a credible tourism certification scheme? 2 or 3 hands? That's not. It's not even related to tourism. It's just something I made up. And I think that I want to rest it there to a certain extent. The problem for the industry is that we have developed some really, really good schemes. They are really, really good. But we've developed schemes that appeal to businesses. And then we try to sell them to consumers. And we've forgotten that logos are about consumers. And I think in a way what we've tried to do is we've tried to make it very, very attractive by making it smell like bacon. Where in reality what we're trying to sell to businesses is green vegetables. I think it's about time we woke up and told the truth. Thank you. Was that 7 minutes?
Okay, Andrea, I won't go back up there. You can... let me just change the slide. We need to close these in your presentation.
Yeah.
I ask each one of the speakers to try to keep it down to 7 to 10 minutes. The idea being that the questions afterwards are usually quite interesting. And I like your presentation because it was provocative, and I think it provided the context to where we're supposed to go with some of these, in that much of certification has been improving the businesses but not necessarily having a market focus. Andrea, over to you.
Thank you very much. My name's Andrea Nicholas. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Green Tourism. The word certification has been used quite a lot. We actually don't like to think of ourselves as a certification program. We are a business development and grading program, and yes, we do appeal to businesses, and we think that's a big contribution to responsible tourism. We cover all types of tourism businesses, accommodation providers, activity providers, offices, TICs. And our members are visited on site once every 2 years by qualified assessors and advisors to give them bespoke advice and guidance on significant impacts. What we're not is we're not a tick box exercise. We're not an online checklist that you sign up to and get a green badge, or a pledge that you sign up to and get a green badge. We actually make a difference. Our businesses are advised by assessors that are qualified, experienced, and give them information about the significant impacts and aspects within their business to help them improve, and we can demonstrate that people are improving. We have 3 levels, bronze, silver and gold, and when we go back to visit our businesses every 2 years, we're looking for continual improvement, and we're looking for businesses that are really making a difference, and they are. Since 1997, when we started the programme, we have graded and visited over 5,000 businesses across the UK and Ireland. We've actually carried out about 10,000 assessments. Our current membership is 2,300 and growing, and we are the only national sustainable tourism programme in the UK validated by ICRETH. Who is Green Tourism? We are a not-for-profit private company. We set it up, it was me and my husband set it up. We're funded through membership fees, project work and international consultancy, of which we've done quite a lot. We have a team of 15 dedicated and committed environmentally conscious people and passionate people, and that includes our technical team, all of which have environmental qualifications, they have environmental experience, they're registered or working towards registration with IEMA. They go through a 3-month intensive training programme, classroom, site visits, and they're shadowed. There's continual ongoing monitoring and mentoring of our assessors. They are all employees of our company. And we have monthly technical meetings to maintain consistency across our grading programme, to make sure that the businesses are being given the best possible advice, the best practice that's out there, the leading advice possible. And we have a very good support team based in our offices in Perth in Scotland, which include our membership services, giving advice, support, promotion. We have websites, social media, press, events. We have our first Green Tourism Conference coming up this Friday in Bristol. If anyone would like to come, see me afterwards. We have an ongoing programme of promotion. Where are we? This is a show you distribution across the UK in terms of the membership, but we've also been working in Canada, and this year we signed up our first licensee in British Columbia, a company called Green Step. We spent the summer training their assessors, and we've now got 27 graded businesses in British Columbia, and we hope to roll that out throughout the rest of Canada. Since 2011, we've been working Swedish Welcome. They came to us and said, we see what you're doing, we like what you're doing, we want you to help us, advise us in setting up a sustainability and quality programme. And before that, we were approached by Qualmark in New Zealand to do a similar kind of thing, integrating sustainability within their quality section. The results of green tourism, there's too much to include in 7 minutes, but I want to focus on the carbon reduction. As I'm sure many of you in the room are aware how difficult it is to get energy and resource efficiency figures from businesses that are credible. We actually have an annual performance information sheet that all our businesses fill in, and we take that information, we make sure we validate it on site, we check that the information is clean and accurate, and from that we've been able to identify from 2010 to 2011 our hotel stock we're able to demonstrate almost 22% reduction in kilowatt hours per metre squared per year. If we then extrapolate that out again using the ITP's HDMI tool, which I'm sure you're all aware of, we were able to identify that the hotels are actually, at 2011, reaching the excellent rating. 2010, they were at goods. We're actually going to align our annual performance information sheets to the ITP's HDMI tool so that we can track that year on year and provide more benchmarks. Other KPIs that we can demonstrate businesses have achieved, over 80% have improved their resource efficiency and made savings. 65% have now got formal environmental policies. Over 50% now monitor regularly their energy, water and waste, which they didn't before. And over 50% have improved staff training on environmental issues. Corporate businesses and green tourism, this is where we can demonstrate that actually there is a significant market advantage of being part of the green tourism programme. We have over 800 hotels representing 100,000 bedrooms, 65 standalone conference and events venues, and many of those groups and chains have joined us because their clients are requiring it as part of their request for prices, tenders they have to fill in for big companies. They are required to have some kind of third-party validation, and green tourism is that standard in the UK. So these are the types of businesses that we're working with. All of their hotels and businesses across the UK have joined green tourism. So, for instance, Radisson, we have 43 hotels. Some of them we've just started working with, like IHG, through the IHG's Green Engage programme. A fairly new Recruiters Redefined BDL, where they've got 50 hotels. These hotels have joined us because they know that they are going to increase their market, they're increase their business because their clients are asking for that validation. And they're using us as a way of validating their own internal green programmes as well. So we really are making a difference to responsible tourism from that side of things. Next steps of green tourism, we need to continue and improve. We're launching version 5 of our criteria next year, and that will be a simpler and better process. We're streamlining it for smaller businesses. We're making it more focused for the different business types. We're doing a membership survey. Our members are very important to us. We need to feed that back into the process and use that to build customer-facing marketing campaigns. The marketing side of things is an important aspect. We want to work more with destinations. We have worked with many destinations across the UK, and it's very much an important part of our business. Customers choose a destination to stay in. Businesses feel that they're part of a destination. They want to network with other businesses in their area. Destinations is important. We want to build on our international consultancy and our licensees through the work through New Zealand, Sweden and Canada. We've already got communications and we're talking to destinations in Europe and in Asia. We don't want to be an international label. We don't see ourselves as being green tourism an international label, but we are about providing advice and support and wanting to work in partnership with other destinations to be able to spread the expertise and the knowledge that we've learned over 16 years to help other areas improve and set up green tourism products. If you'd like to find out any more, then just ask me. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. That was an awful lot of information in 7 minutes, but I'm glad it's being recorded because actually sometimes it takes a huge amount of time to go to somebody's website to follow many of the documents to get a concise presentation like this. And the materials being recorded will be available at the World Travel Market website later on. And we know that all of the presentations tomorrow going on are live streamed, which I believe is the first time we've managed to do that. I'm just padding it out until Sean's ready, and there he is. Over to you, Sean.
Thanks, Xavier. Hello, good morning, everybody. My name's Sean Owens. I'm Sustainable Product Manager for TUI UK and Ireland, our primary brands being Thomson and First Choice. My background is in hotels. I worked in hotels, well, travel and tourism, mainly hotels, for about 20 years. More than that now, actually. I've managed hotels. I also started on the floor as such, as a waiter, and very proud of the diversity of our industry. And I'm delighted to be here today. In my present role as Sustainable Product Manager, what I do, or certainly attempt to, is to optimize the awareness and the performance of our supply chain in terms of sustainability. So, for those of you that don't know TUI, just the broader company, TUI Travel PLC, it's a FTSE 100 company. We are one of the world's leading international leisure travel groups. 30 million customers, 31 source markets going to 180 countries. Over 240 brands, 141 aircraft, over 50,000 staff, and 1,800 shops in Europe alone. So some rather large numbers. But with that size, of course, comes responsibility. And that's why we have continually, we believe, helped drive the agenda of sustainable tourism. We have a plan. It's called the Sustainable Holidays Plan. It goes from 2012 to 2014. There's 20 targets across 4 key areas. I'm just focusing on destinations today. And the key pledge that we have made is that we'll deliver 10 million greener and fairer holidays over that period of time. So what does that mean? Basically, that means hotels that are achieving a Travel Life Award or an equivalent award, such as those recognized by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. So those are big numbers. It's hard work, but for those that perhaps think that we're reaching a tipping point, I suggest that really the hard work is still ahead, even though we're very seriously making very serious progress, particularly in the last 12 months. The hard work is still ahead. Just to, I'm sure at the back there's no way that you can see the detail, but just to give it some context really, we consider sustainability as part of the holiday journey, but from the time that people are booking online or in one of our shops, right through to the holiday experience in destinations. So certification is very relevant here because, of course, we want to promote the greener and fairer holidays online. We've got to make sure that our retail staff are well trained when selling holidays. We've got to make sure that once we're in destinations, the hotels are engaged and working towards award levels and engaging customers during the actual holiday experience. And of course, those smaller blue circles there, they're all the impact areas that certification helps address, from protecting biodiversity, reducing carbon, supporting communities, and so on. The bottom right there, two separate but very important issues of animal welfare and child protection. We have a separate process. We don't just focus on those two key areas as part of hotel certification. It's vital that we have an altogether separate approach to those areas. Hopefully that diagram there might just give you the sense of how we approach this. So we have the Sustainable Holidays Plan. We introduced in 2009 what we call our Sustainable Development Contract Addendum, and that was the first time that we'd actually made it a mandatory criteria within our contracts with hotels that they must work to address their environmental impacts, also the social impacts across the key areas, for example, of minimum wage, living wage in certain countries, and also child protection, and on the environmental side, the main areas of energy, water, waste reduction, and the key clause within the contract addendum is that they will work towards achieving certification. For our differentiated hotels, they're key products of Thomson and First Choice, for example, holiday villages or Thomson Sensatori hotels. We take that further. Within what we call our spec document, we have relative targets for water and energy for them to achieve. So the journey to date, basically, TUI UK and Ireland has been a key supporter of Travel Life since its inception, and First Choice was actually the first tour operator to market Travel Life Awards in 2007. In 2009, as I mentioned, we introduced our Sustainable Development Contract Addendum. In 2012, that was rolled out across the entire group of TUI Travel PLC. So whether that's customers leaving from Germany, going to the same hotel in Mallorca, all parts of our business now have the contract addendum in place. We also launched a document in 2010, Guidelines for Environmental Sustainability in Hotels, which I was fortunate to project manage on, and that also demonstrated not just that we expect hotels to deliver, but also that we have the relative expertise within our business to help them on that journey. As part of the 10 million greener and fairer target, in the first year we achieved 2 million. The numbers are coming in. We put that across the winter and summer seasons, the summer having just finished last week. But the numbers are looking good. We will have a lot of work to do in the final third year. The numbers looking good. We're in what they call a closed period of trading, so I can't put too much detail on here. But 2/3 of TUI UK mainstream hotels are now subscribed to Travel Life, and 27% of our hotels are at award level. And that actually, in numbers, is over 40% of our customers this summer alone. And over the last 12 months, over 1.6 million of our customers have stayed in Travel Life award level hotels. In essence, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We've started some time ago. You know, if you sprint, you're going to stumble, you may fall. And not that I've ever done a marathon, I've done a few half marathons, but from what I understand, it's really that post 20-mile stretch that can hurt. That's when you've really got to make sure that you've strategically approached what you've embarked upon. The business case for TUI, basically, it does offer us recognition as leaders in the field by investors and also the socially responsible investment field. It helps pioneer change in our sector, although we do implore all other tour operators to take this similarly robust approach and work towards getting it into contracts. It does give us a license to operate in destinations, we believe. We've had some very positive results. I rarely beg to differ with Rebecca, but just on the point of destinations, a program that we work very closely with the Travel Foundation, and they have a destination partnership with Cyprus, and they are now on the cusp of introducing sustainability into the minimum standards for sustainability into the quality ratings. So basically, you can't be a 5-star unless you do X, Y, Z in sustainability, and those are aligned with Travel Life. It helps us manage risk and also demonstrates a commitment to long-term partnerships with our suppliers, and leads to higher quality customer experiences. I was doing some very last-minute maths last night, looking at hundreds of thousands of customer satisfaction questionnaires for summer 2013, and hit the button and wondered what it would show, and I was delighted to see that Travel Life awarded hotels are now outperforming non-Travel Life awarded hotels for how customers rate accommodation overall by a clear 6 percentage points. And it also meets growing expectations from customers. It doesn't mean that they're banging down the door looking for a greener holiday, but all things being equal, if there is a logo there that demonstrates a responsible approach to managing impacts, then it's likely that's what is the hotel that's going to get the customer's purchase. For hotels, of course, there's a clear case there. It helps them manage sustainability, their environmental impacts, community engagement, procurement, and as per the previous session, critically, employment conditions also. It helps them reduce costs, which also indirectly goes across the left side of the screen. It helps us too, as those hotels can then continue to deliver outstanding value for money in terms of how we can package up the holidays. And it creates greater customer loyalty. I only looked at 3 strands of customer satisfaction, but I did look at the return rate, and again, that's higher for Travel Life awarded hotels. So it offers the hotels a clear opportunity to differentiate themselves and bring that into their marketing. And just to wrap up, an example of a best practice hotel in Crete, Travel Life Gold awarded. 2/3 of the employees are from the local community. You can read through, these slides are going to be online anyhow, but it's a hotel that we're very proud to support in their initiatives. They've also achieved ISO 14001, and just a few weeks ago also EMAS, the EU Eco-Label too. Clear business case for them. They've saved over €200,000 over the last 4 years by better management of energy and water. And again, they just absolutely outperform when it comes to customer satisfaction. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, now I was supposed to download and bring Jenny's presentation, and I fully accept responsibility for not having done so. Okay. So Jenny has very kindly decided that she knows the presentation well enough to just run through it without the slides. I'll still have to keep an eye on the time, though.
No problem.
How about you?
I think every seminar or conference has to have a technical hitch, so I'm proud to present the technical hitch. But the good thing is, my name's Jenny Rushmore. I'm the Director of Responsible Travel at Tripadvisor, and I would hope that most of you in the room know what Tripadvisor is already, so I don't need to show you a picture of it. You can just imagine it. We are the world's largest travel site. We have over 260 million users a month, which is a bit crazy. And we have launched the Tripadvisor Greenleaders program that I'm going to talk to you about today. So we launched it 6 months ago in the United States first, but it will be extending to other countries. We actually get emails about this every single day, and we don't have an exact date yet, but we will be launching pretty soon in Europe and the UK. So the background of the program is that we do surveys every year. You know, Tripadvisor does lots and lots of surveys of travelers. And we found that a high number told us that they were really interested in green travel or sustainable travel. But very, very, very few of them did it. So there was this obvious, very big gap between what people were interested in and what they were actually doing, because people didn't have the time or the inclination, or they just didn't know where to find the information. So what we realized is, as the world's largest travel site and the place that people come to book, we had this really unique opportunity to educate travelers and to make it really easy to book a green trip. That you don't have to go to a single extra place, you don't have to do a single piece of extra research, because we'll just put the information in front of you. On the other hand, we also realized we had this enormous potential to communicate with hotels. Tripadvisor is obviously in touch with most hotels. And by providing an economic incentive, by saying, if you do these programs and if you have these things in place, you will make more revenue on Tripadvisor, we realized that that was also a really big opportunity. So we started 18 months ago, and we developed the program in partnership with all kinds of experts. These include the United Nations, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the UK recently been working with the Carbon Trust, the UK Green Building Council, and we got various people together and got their feedback and created the program. So, Tripadvisor Greenleaders highlights hotels and B&Bs that have green practices on our site. The way that it works is when you just search, and you don't have to do a single extra thing, you don't have to go to a green section or type something special in, you just search for hotels in Boston, you will see on their listing, in that page, right below their name, which I wish I could show you a picture of, but just imagine a leaf below their name, it will say if they're a green leader, and if so, what level they are at. You can, if you're interested, click a green filter button that's very prominent, and if you do that, you'll only see the green hotels. And we've had hundreds of thousands of people at this point already start clicking to search. Transparency is incredibly important to us. So if you click on the badge, you can actually then see everything the hotel does in detail. Not just that they recycle, but what they recycle and where do they recycle. Is it recycling bins in the hotel rooms? Is it behind the scenes? Because we think this transparency is really important. And obviously, being Tripadvisor, we also ask people to write reviews. So if you stay at a Green Leader hotel, we ask you, what did you think about this hotel's environmentally friendly practices? And at this point, we already have over 15,000 comments from travelers without really promoting it, just organically, that is what has occurred. So the way that it works is that hotels apply at a site called green.tripadvisor.com, and any of you can go and have a look at it now. Just bear in mind it's tailored for the US at the moment. And what they do is we have 7 minimum requirements, and then we have a survey where they have to answer about various things that they do: energy, water, waste, purchasing, and so on. And then if they just meet the minimum requirements, they can come in at like an entry level. It's called Green Partner. But if they score 30%, they can be bronze, 40, silver, 50, gold, 60, platinum. Very, very transparent, and you can see all the details, you can figure it out. We work with a third-party auditor. We review all the applications, and there are certain things that we can check as soon as people apply. We also have random auditing, and in addition to that, we have these consumer comments. And this is one thing that's just really unique about our program. Because we're so open with the traveler about what the hotel does, if they go and experience it, and it isn't the case, they can report back to us. Now, obviously, a traveler cannot tell that you have energy-efficient laundry systems, sure. But there are many things that they can check, and they do get back to us. And if there are concerns, that also triggers an audit. So we're really proud at this point. We're actually now the largest national green hotel program in the United States. We hit that point about 16 weeks after launch. We were really pleased to get that, and we've had an incredibly strong, positive response from the community. We actually have partnerships with pretty much all the hotel chains now: IHG, Hilton, Marriott, like you can basically name them all. And the program is roughly half chain hotels, half independent hotels at the moment. It varies a little bit by time. And the very highest level, only about 7% of hotels are achieving. So that's remaining the really kind of exclusive one up at the top. So what we're finding is that we are indeed managing to communicate this to consumers. It's a very, very easy process, and we're seeing that. And our objective of trying to encourage hotels to change is also happening every single day. So we had the largest hotel management company in the US call us the other day, telling us that their board of directors had heard about this, and they were telling their sustainability group, why on earth are you not doing that? Now, the reality is a lot of their hotels don't meet the criteria. So now they have a whole plan in place, and they're implementing changes. We've had other hotels who've told us that they're using the survey as a working list, and they're planning to get to gold, and they're currently bronze, and they're working their way up there. And every single day we're getting great examples of this kind of thing. So we feel great about the results so far. The other key thing about our program is that it's entirely free. It's effectively a program from Tripadvisor intended to encourage the industry not to make money. So this is a great thing, and in fact, about 75% of the hotels who are in our program have not previously engaged in other certification schemes. So we're reaching a lot of new people. We want to continue trying to get as many of the hotels that meet our criteria in there as possible, but we actually think the really big opportunity is people who don't do it today, who go, hey, why has my competition on Tripadvisor got this thing that I don't have? And that is a hugely motivating effect that we're already seeing happening. And we're really, really happy to see those kind of dynamics. Now, we're a little bit different. We're not going to come and consult with you at your hotel. But what we do is put people in touch with other organizations, whether they're free or consultants, who can also continue to help them. So we serve as Tripadvisor to kind of communicate that out to our 260 million members. And with our hotels, we encourage them, we put them in contact with people who can help them, and ultimately raise the awareness significantly of the things they've been doing. So we're in the United States so far. We're going to be launching in Europe and Canada next. And if you're interested, if you're part of an organization who would like to partner with us, email us. The easiest way to get in touch is green@tripadvisor.com. And we have lots of partnerships already going on in Europe. We'd love to hear about more, and anyone who's interested can effectively pre-register. And I think that's about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so I hope you've got plenty of questions, and I think it's a good time to open the floor for questions. We've got some microphones roaming around. Okay, so if you want to put your hands up, if you want to ask the first question. Okay.
What kind of partners are you looking for?
What kind of partners are you looking for? I think that's for Jenny. If you can first say who you want to address the question to. Okay.
Yes, so we're pretty much open to all kinds of partners. So there's the ones that we've currently been working with. One is hotel chains. So there's a bunch of European hotel chains who we're already speaking to. In some cases, they actually have the data centrally. They already know what their hotels do, and we can work with them on that. We have a lot of technological capabilities on our end to handle that. And also hotels that don't have it centrally, we can work with them on communication out to the hotels, why you should do this, and helping out. The second kind of thing is DMOs. So we're working a lot with tourism organizations who are really enthusiastic to promote their area as having a lot of environmentally conscious hotels. And then also the hotel associations. So in the United States, the American Hotel and Lodging Association, which is the main trade association, has actually formally adopted Tripadvisor Greenleaders. It actually changed its minimum standards to meet ours, and now we're co-promoting that out to the industry. So to be perfectly honest, like pretty much all sectors we're interested in, and I'm happy to kind of have conversations with anyone and any ideas people might have.
Now, we'll have another question. Can I ask a question in the meantime? And I'm afraid many of the questions will come to you, Jenny, because you're newer here. You've mentioned this third-party review of applications, and there's an audit of non-compliance. Mm-hmm. I think a particular concern has been, because of the difference compared to other programs, let's not call them certification programs because you don't call yourself that, is that your third party is light and that your audit of non-compliance may be too little too late.
So there's a couple of different approaches that you can take when it comes to like green hotel programs, right? And there's sort of like an axis and there's two ends. So one can be you charge a reasonable amount of money and it's on site and it's very in-depth. And there's definitely a lot of great organizations out there that do that who've remained relatively small compared to the industry. All the way on the other end, for instance, there are quite a few states in the US where they have 100% self-assessment and that's it. It just ends there. So what we decided is we wanted to go for a middle route. We wanted to try and encourage and engage as many hotels as possible because what we want to do is make a big difference in the industry. So even if you just meet those 7 minimum requirements, you're doing something. But what we can then do is harness you to try and get you to improve and show you why you should and what the results would be. So what we decided to do was have a free program. We work with a third-party organization in the US called the Cadmus Group that actually does like water and standards auditing for the government. So it's a very sort of like technical environmental organization. And what they do is when we have issues with applications, they audit them and they check that they can do the things that they're talking about. The other huge difference, and this is what makes our program really unique, is those 15,000 comments and those 260 million users. So we have this secondary source of basically confirmation of what the hotels are doing, both in terms of what the consumer sees, and they often ask the hotelier and see what they say when they have those conversations. So those two things together, we're seeing very strong levels of integrity in our program in the United States, and we feel very confident about that. But if anyone, stays at a hotel and they say they're doing this and it doesn't match up to that, we are always open. As Xavier mentioned, we're not a certification. We're not ISO. We're not coming to like guarantee something or be PricewaterhouseCoopers. We're telling the world about what hotels are doing from a sustainability standpoint. So we think we've reached the right balance to engage huge numbers of people very, very quickly with a good level of integrity.
Okay, we can come back to that later to see if somebody has any more questions about this. But we had a question. Hang on. Yep, just behind. There we are.
Hi.
Yeah, it's working.
Hi. I think I wanted to highlight something that came from Rebecca's talk, but I think affects all of you. Rebecca talked about the gap between what the businesses see as green and what the customers see as green. And on Rebecca's slide, there was a large point saying nature. Now, I noticed Sean talked about biodiversity in his green certification. I didn't see anything in Andrea's. I didn't see anything in yours, Jenny. And I think this is you also spoke about how the customers see, they're not going to see the fact that you're doing some great work at conserving heat energy in your kitchens. But they are going to see if you are landscaping your area and you're bringing wildlife to your site. And this is a huge missed opportunity within the industry. And I'm concerned that I'm not hearing it in your green certification. And I'd just like to ask a bit more about that and highlight that as an issue.
I think, Andrea, go for it.
Yeah. I didn't have time within my presentation to go through our 145 different criteria, of which at least 20 relate to natural heritage and cultural heritage. Biodiversity is a crucial part of what we talk about, as is other issues to do with sustainability like community and green procurements, that kind of thing. It's a major part of our programme is about biodiversity, promoting natural heritage, promoting cultural heritage, on-site, off-site, in the destination, to and from the destination.
But it is true to say that most programs first focus on water waste energy because that reduces operational costs. What I would like to see hotels and certification programs to then do is say, don't keep that as profit. You've just created yourself a sustainability budget to do the other things. And all too often we go as far as doing water waste energy and we stop there. So there's
Xavier, if I may just add. So in Tripadvisor Greenleaders, we also have a section on biodiversity and landscaping specifically, so it's in there. But the other thing I think is interesting, I think, Rebecca, you'll find this interesting later on, is we're now doing language processing analysis of these 15,000 comments that we're getting. And the interesting thing is a lot of surveys of green tourism ask people slightly leading questions, right? What do you think if a hotel composts? Like, everyone's going to say that's good. But the question is, like, do people spontaneously think that, and would they notice? So what we're doing is we're actually starting to analyze what do they notice? Like, what do they care about, and how do they feel about that? I don't have the results yet, but once we have it, we will definitely share it out, because I think it's a really useful research tool to understand more about what people are observing.
Okay, quickly, Rebecca, and then back to the floor. We had a question further back there. I'll come to you in a bit.
And I think most of the credible schemes, Travel Life, Andrea's great scheme, do have elements of nature in them. It depends at what point within the process you have to address those, and also how they are interpreted to customers. And I think you get impact for a customer, especially if you're a relatively small business, when a number of businesses in a destination take action with, if you like, almost the same certification scheme that's equally credible. And I think that that's the danger for businesses, is finding the certification schemes that are equally credible and do cover off the full range of things in that sustainability spectrum. And that's where you have such a spectacular failure to meet customer expectations, if you like, is when somebody is bought into a scheme that perhaps isn't so credible, and then you get this kind of huge gap between what people are expecting and what they get. Sorry.
Okay, that's a fair point. We had a question, I've forgotten now where the next question was earlier on with hands. We'll go to Sarah, and then we'll move.
Hello. I just have a question regarding regarding collaboration between the certification organism. It seems that nowadays we have so many certification schemes, and I haven't heard about any initiative to help the collaboration, because at the end it will help the customer to see more clearly and to reach our target of training and changing the customer behavior.
Who is the question directed to, though?
I think it's for the panel, because it's for anyone who can actually help me to say
Okay.
what happened.
Sean, you're involved in GSTC in some way through Travel Life, although not personally. Do you want to make a reference to that?
Sure. For those of you that aren't familiar, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council had their criteria, and those are, I believe there are 34 criteria across the impact areas of environment, social, community, and so on and so forth. There are, at the moment, I think, 16 different certification schemes, including Travel Life, Green Globe, EarthCheck, the UN Biosphere, that are accredited. There's also many smaller regional certification schemes, including, for example, Maltese Tourist Board. They're not necessarily collaborating, but they are all aspiring to achieve the same standards as each other. So I think that does go some way to at least take the industry, or this part of it, together on a very similar journey as each other.
Yeah. The challenge for many of these schemes, and this is why we highlighted these three particular schemes today, is that they're not self-financing. They cannot grow because they need more money to be able to give the advice to the companies. The advantage of the three schemes that we're looking at here is that you are managing to raise enough money through your own membership fees to be able to do it. In the case of Travel Life, it'll be because there's a pressure through supply chain management. In the case of Andrea, because the advice given is perceived as sufficient good value to invest that money. In the case of Tripadvisor, to a large extent, is because companies have learned through schemes like Andrea's to then be ready to come to yours and say, how have we done it, or we haven't done it. Rebecca?
I think we're almost coming at it from the wrong end, though. If we're looking at almost harmonising certification schemes, I still think that we have to come at it from the other end, and what we need to do is help customers recognise the credible from the incredible. And I think that Visit Britain has gone some way towards trying to do this with the way they've accredited Green Tourism Business Scheme. But we need to help customers recognise, because we can't police it all. There's no police force out there, and there's huge controversy over whether the global sustainable tourism criteria are correct or not, even if you can pronounce it right, and whether they've got the right things in them or the wrong things in them. I mean, we really do have to turn the whole thing on its head and help customers choose the products that deliver the better quality across the spectrum of things that they're interested in, and stop thinking that somehow we can have a global police force that can make this happen. You know, schemes are going to perpetuate all the time.
If I can add to that, when the Global Sustainable Tourism criteria were put together, the people that did it acknowledged there was no market assessment of what the market understood or what the market wanted. And therefore, what they did is they looked at the criteria for certification programs themselves and saying, how do we harmonize within? But there was never a customer focus. Maurice. Next question.
Question for Jenny. Good afternoon. Maurice Bergen from the Green Hospitality Programme in Ireland. I suppose, if I can speak on behalf of a number of certification programs, our challenge is we recognise the scale of Tripadvisor. We've done a lot of work, hard work in certification. It appears to us in Europe particularly, where there is a robustness in certification, that Tripadvisor is just going to do a hello rollover, which unfortunately may create a very strong negative against Tripadvisor Greenleader. Even the name itself, given that it's not a certification program, is potentially setting you up against us. That's not healthy for what we're trying to do, which is educate everybody. How are you going to work with us in Europe, where we have a very strong historical program? US didn't. Very weak program, so you can do it. But the logic for us is that we work with you, because you've got 260 million visitors, but equally the logic is you work with us. And so far I haven't seen anything from Tripadvisor about working with the existing certification programs.
So we have been, we're in discussions with multiple different certifications, and actually one, it's not public yet, but it's about to be, where we have the opportunity to harmonize with existing certifications. We're definitely interested in doing that. And we do also give hotels credit if they have gone through an existing certification scheme. And we know that it's typically quicker for people who've already done it because they've already understand what their hotel does. What we're finding is that the reason our program is growing so quickly is because the hotels are responding extremely positively to it. It solves many challenges for them, particularly the fact that there is such low awareness of a lot of the existing green programs, whereas Tripadvisor obviously has the ability to put it out there just instantly. You know, Tripadvisor is effectively a media channel, so we can actually communicate to huge numbers of people very quickly. So we're finding a lot of hotels are coming to us. Now, there are differences between our program and many of the others. Not all of the others. Some of them are very similar, but some of them are different. We don't offer on-site consultancy, and that's something many hotels are like highly, highly interested in. So we do direct hotels towards other organizations that can do that. And that's something that I don't anticipate we will ever be able to do ourselves, in all honesty. So I think there's an opportunity both for cooperation, where certifications and other programs are very, very similar. We're very open to that, and we have lots of conversations, some of which we manage to work out and some of which don't work out for different reasons. And at the same time, I think there's an opportunity for kind of coexistence by achieving different things. You know, the other big point, and someone made it earlier, is that a lot of hotels have environmental programs being driven by business requests and by RFPs. That, again, is something Tripadvisor doesn't really do, and we can't really affect that. So I think there are different needs, and there are different organizations that can meet those needs. But we're certainly open to discussing. To be honest, there are so many tourism hospitality associations involved in sustainability that I'm sure we have not spoken to all of them yet. But we'd love to have a conversation with you, and anyone else here who works in that industry, we're very open to talking.
Okay, we've got 10 minutes, so we need shorter questions and shorter answers.
I've got a question for Andrea. You said that you've graded 5,000 businesses and your current membership is 2,300.
Yep.
Just wondering if there's a reason for
Because we've been going 16 years, and
Okay.
businesses close, people move on, people come into the program and move on from the program as well. Often people come in and move from bronze to silver to gold, and maybe then they take on a different type of approach and decide to leave. But our turnover is, our churn, if you like, is about 10% a year, which actually is the same as the quality grading programs. So,
And
that's
actually,
why.
you need to acknowledge that the GTBS has made a difference to 5,000 companies, not just to the current number of members.
yeah, which is why I use that.
You know,
that
companies
figure.
that move on continue doing some of the things they learn. Once they put a good boiler in place, or once they've insulated the windows, the moment they leave GTBS, they don't go and, you know, put the old windows back on.
I would like to thank, first of all, to a fabulous panel and the very dynamic presentations. I am Snezhka Richter, International Institute for Peace Through Tourism, and I do want to just comment regarding Tripadvisor Green Scheme. Would you probably consider that could be a first step towards full certification with maybe another organization, considering?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think that there are different... Sorry.
Yeah. I did.
Yes,
I'm sorry. I did have another question, but I was just going to say perhaps a comment to that regarding.
Okay, but we need short questions and short answers.
Yes.
Can we keep it one at a time and then we can come back?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, I think we're offering a program that many people will find value in certain ways, and it may well be that in some cases they're interested in doing more. As I said, because we don't come to the site and because we don't advise you, what we're finding is many hotels come back to us and they say, "Hey, we'd like to be better. What can we do?" And that would be a great opportunity.
Sorry, my full question to the panel: how would you entice movement towards certification in a destination where there is a huge "we know it all" attitude, as well as "why should we do it if we get tourists anyway," where there is a pretty hardcore situation, and of course a standard tourism destination with high numbers of tourists, but at the same time lack of true certification? Thank you.
Andrea, do you want to mention this? Because you've got experience in helping destinations setting up these schemes.
Yeah. It is a challenge if you're in an area where there is high tourism, such as London, for instance. We did a project with the LDA to green London for the Games, and a lot of businesses in London aren't even quality graded. They don't need to be. They've got an active market. With the green side of things, it's about convincing them that actually it's not just about a marketing advantage. It's about saving money. It's about making a difference. It's really making a difference. And my concern about the program like Tripadvisor's Green Leaders is actually it's going to undermine the good work that the certification programs have run over the last few years. It gives people the opportunity to say they're doing something when no one's checking it. Their audit is a desktop audit, not an on-site audit, which I think is greenwash. And I think the possibility of actually people being able to say, I can sign up for this, I can say I'm doing all these things, no one's going to check it, and I can get a gold, silver, platinum, great. Okay, my customers might choose me because of that. And in fact, Jenny mentioned it. We want people to sign up to the Green Leaders because they're going to get more money from us, because they're going to get more people booking with them because they've got these green labels, when the green label is actually greenwash because no one's actually checking what they're doing.
following from this, Jenny, can we ask a question? If I'm found through your scheme that the customers make negative comments, what is the disincentive for me to not just greenwash? In that it would be very easy for me to make claims, and then when I'm found out, say, whoops, well, I didn't really do all of that. I mean, you've got the power to say your business is out of Tripadvisor, end off.
Well, the big advantage that we have is because we don't charge hotels, we're not reliant on hotels joining our program for our program to continue. So we can actually throw hotels out very easily if they cheat. And
out of Greenleaders or out of Tripadvisor altogether?
Not out of Tripadvisor, because
well,
ultimately...
That's the only incentive. If you just throw me out of Greenleaders, you've just done this. That's not good enough.
Yeah. And how are you going to check?
So Tripadvisor as a website obviously works because it has the whole gamut of hotels. If only hotels that were doing well were in Tripadvisor, it would no longer be very helpful, right? Because people want to know the truth about all kinds of hotels wherever they're going.
Yeah.
So we have the ability to suspend people and to take people out. I will say, it's not a very high rate because most people are indeed telling the truth. And the auditing process we're using is working very well. We get lots and lots of consumer comments, and that has indeed triggered audits, and it's triggered people to come out of the program. But we continue paying a lot of attention to this and continuing to work on it in that way.
Okay, quick comment from Ruth. Sorry, from Rebecca, and then we'll go to Ruth.
Xavier?
Sorry, I'm getting confused now. Go ahead.
I think in a way the missed opportunity within Tripadvisor, without passing any judgment on individual certification schemes, is that the real role Tripadvisor could effectively play in this marketplace is to talk to the customer, to tell the customer, here's the 10 things that you should look for, which makes a business green, to almost help them to make the choices, to start that process of education. And I think that would then, because certification schemes do tend to operate in specific countries, I know, Andrea, you operate in about 4, but I think you're one of the only ones that does operate across a number of boundaries, then it will help individual certification schemes in individual countries to also work within the boundaries of what's credible within those countries.
Okay, quickly, Sean, and then we go to Ruth, because she's
Yeah,
been waiting patiently.
Quick comment, sat between the ladies here that, let's face it, do have perhaps relatively competing businesses in terms of how they portray the sustainability qualities of the hotels. We're, as TUI, we're fortunate, I guess, insofar as 90% of our product of Thomson is exclusive to us. Customers do, of course, dynamically package and may therefore look at Tripadvisor. But my comment really was just to give credit really to Tripadvisor, doing a bit of research at the weekend, digging down through the links. I was very impressed with just how exhaustive those questions are, looking at areas that are very impressive, that will go over the head of most in terms of how many eighths of an inch of fluorescent tubes are
but how are the
considered.
customers going to know whether that's true or not?
The customers may not know, but I
so
think
how
the
can you
role that Tripadvisor can play, if it does perhaps iron out some of these slight liabilities that I consider legitimate points that are raised, they can raise the awareness of sustainability amongst consumers. So that has to be applauded overall.
The incentive to not greenwash, or the punishment if you do, has to be greater. And I think particularly if there's a very small percentage of companies that we believe will greenwash, it's very easy to put a much greater punishment in place. But that's a conversation for afterwards. Now, final question, I'm afraid. We've got it with Ruth at the back.
Thank you. I'm just building on something that was said earlier about areas that aren't covered in certification schemes. And we've just listened to a debate in this room earlier about working conditions in the hotel industry. And the only person who touched on that in his presentation was Sean. And I'd just like to ask what certification schemes are doing to address that issue, because a hotel cannot be sustainable just because it's addressing energy and waste if in the meantime its workers are not getting acceptable working conditions.
Tough question. Who do you address it to?
Well, Sean was the only one who covered it, so I'm guessing
case?
it's the other members.
I'm quite happy. I did not have time in my presentation to go through all our criteria. We do cover working conditions, we cover staff training, we staff welfare, all of that comes within the management process that the assessment when we do our grading visit. As I said, we're 145 different criteria. And I could be here for half an hour going through at least just listing them all out.
Okay.
Andrea, I don't want to disagree entirely, because I had the weekend looking at both your sites schemes, and I actually consider that an omission. I couldn't find it.
It's in the minimum standards.
So what kind of criteria?
It's minimum standards regarding legal obligation to
in
working
terms
rights.
of minimum wage and
Yep.
written contracts of employment.
Yeah.
Great. I must have overlooked it.
Okay. Thank you very much. There will be more questions, but I think that all 4 people from the panel, as well as myself, are here all day today and tomorrow, and we look forward to welcoming you in the next session shortly. Okay.